Stay down! If I wanted it, you'd be dead already. The Batman on this movie is kind of scary, he's kind of creepy, and it's time to learn what it means to be a man. Truthfully, you will. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Alright, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Keep in mind, this is a spoiler review, okay? And this is kind of my introduction video to my new channel. And I just want to welcome everybody that watches this video, who's seen some of my other videos at Lewis Balance's Cinema Reviews. And now, the Film Review Network is my new channel. And I'm kind of just opening it up with this video. I thought it would be like really cool if I did this. Directed by Zack Snyder. This movie is... It's the movie that we've been waiting for a really long time. For me, it's been like maybe like close to 15 or 20 years since I actually heard about this movie. And now we're living in the world where this movie came out. And keep in mind, this is a spoiler review. On this channel, on the Film Review Network, I am going to be doing only spoiler reviews and a couple other stuff that you don't see on my other channel, okay? Alright. This movie takes place in a world where Batman has seen the destruction in Metropolis. He's kind of like he's going through a hard time. He's still kind of having a little flashbacks of his mother and his father getting gunned down. So that's kind of how the movie starts out. And now the spoilers. Okay, in this movie, Batman and Superman end up battling each other because Lex Luthor is he's kind of putting more fire into the frying pan here, because he's kind of instigating. He's kind of like an advocate on this movie, and both Superman and Batman believe each other is a villain. Batman is the vicious vigilante, and believe me, okay, this movie he's probably the darkest Batman that you've ever seen in any movie. Even more darker than one of Christian Bale. Christian Bale kind of had the throat cancer thing going on. But on this movie, Batman is dark, and I kid you not. The other spoiler here, he shoots, he has a battle with some criminals, and he's gunning down a whole lot of people, including the criminals. So that's kind of like where they messed up a little bit on this movie. And in this movie, we see Zod. You know, remember he had a battle with Superman in Metropolis, and on this movie, Lex Luthor is the one who creates Doomsday, and he uses the body of Zod to create Doomsday. I remember the Death of Superman graphic novel that I read when I was a kid, and here now we see pretty much what you see on the trailers. As far as the action goes, is nothing you haven't seen. The only thing they don't show is when Superman finally starts brawling with Doomsday to the end of the film. And it takes about an hour and maybe 30 minutes for Superman and Batman actually to get down. And they get down and dirty. And honestly, in a perfect world, there's just no way that Batman was going to get the upper hand on Superman. The only way is if he had an edge. Kryptonite. So he has like a little, it's kind of like a staff looking thing with, on the tip of it is kryptonite. And that's kind of how he sprays it. He has this kryptonite gun, man. Because Batman is not super. The only reason he's super because he's a very intelligent millionaire. And on this movie, he puts all his resources and all his time. He trains on this film, kind of like Rocky a little bit, to fight Superman at the end of the movie. Almost about an hour and 30 minutes. And this movie spends a whole lot of time in the beginning setting up for more of like a political issue, okay? Because a lot of the people believe on this movie that Superman is some sort of savior. He's kind of like a god in a way. And in the opening scene, Bruce Wayne believes that Superman is a threat. The same thing goes for Superman. So that's kind of how the fight unfolds. But a lot of time is spent kind of setting people up for the Justice League. That's why it's called Dawn of Justice, because we are going to see a Justice League movie. And we see Cyborg, he's kind of having like a little fisticuff with some people in the beginning of this movie. He's kind of like, you know, like kind of like a UFC, like a street fighting thing. And then we see Wonder Woman on this movie, and she's kind of in the background a little bit. She gets a flash drive from LexCorp, because see, Lex Luthor has connections to the Justice League on this movie. So Diana, aka Wonder Woman, gets a little piece of it, and she's kind of trying to get it back from him, and that's where we see the Flash on. There's a scene that takes place in a liquor store where you see the Flash. He's kind of like a young looking guy. He doesn't look more like the Flash that we know, closer to maybe about early 20s or something like that, and he saves this guy. This guy's holding up this liquor store, and then we also see, of course, we see Aquaman, Jason Momoa. Kind of has his Triton, and he's destroying this, what seems, it looks to me like some kind of rock formation or a ship of some kind, and he uses his Triton to destroy it. And as far as Lois Lane is concerned on this movie, she's kind of like Clark Kent's conscience. She's a little bit. She's kind of, I would say, she's kind of exhorting him a little bit. She's trying to help him do the right thing, because I don't think Clark Kent, aka Superman, really knows what he should do. He kind of, the same thing goes for Martha Kent. She's kind of there helping Superman make the right decisions. She's kind of encouraging him, giving him the strength to continue, and that's kind of where they have him in this movie as well. And Lex Luthor, he's kind of like, some people say he's a little bit like Jim Carrey's Riddler, and I really don't see that. But the thing is, he does not, to me, he did not fit as Lex Luthor, and that really shows on this movie, because he does kind of have a little Jim Carrey-ish moments on this film, because he's the reason why Batman and Superman are going to get it on. And at the end of this movie, you get to see him, and he's bald. He looks a little bit more, honestly, to me, that's just my opinion as a fan. He just really didn't fit, but he does his best on this movie. I think he did a stand-up job on this movie. And as far as Doomsday is concerned, like I said, Zod is the one that helps Doomsday to become a reality on this movie. So he kind of uses some particles, some type of black liquid from Krypton that he extracted from the dead alien, of course, and that's how we get Doomsday. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of people say he looks like something out of the Lord of the Rings, and yeah, he does in the beginning, but then after a while, he gets the bone formations on top of his shoulders and on his face for his first battle with Superman. Oh man, when Superman and Doomsday get it on in this movie, I kid you not, it's totally awesome. It's everything you wanted it to be like, everything. And I'm not talking about Smallville, where you just kind of grab him a little bit like this, and then that's pretty much it. He gives him a nice uppercut. No, these guys get down. And in this movie, we finally see Diana, aka Wonder Woman, because she's kind of in the background a little bit. She does actually have some interaction with Bruce Wayne, and no interaction with Clark Kent at all. But in the end of this movie, she shows up, and she is such a big part of this movie. Even though she didn't really come on a whole lot on this movie, she's such a big part of this movie, and I think that she really made her presence known. I was kind of skeptical, because looks like she weighs about 90 pounds in that Wonder Woman getup, but honestly, she looks awesome. And she made a believer of me. Ben Affleck made a believer out of me, and I think Henry Cavill is kind of like, he's coming on his own. He doesn't really get to shine a lot in this movie. He's a little bit more that, how do you say that, Christopher Nolan style Batman. He's a little bit darker. He's a little bit more of a, he's kind of going through conflict on this movie, trying to know what's the right thing to do. Should he fight Batman or not? He really doesn't want to fight Batman. But Batman wants to seriously knock him out. And that's what happens on this movie. And I think everybody did a great job in this movie. This movie's been getting a whole lot of bad reviews because, yeah, there's a lot of incontinuity the continuity in this movie is not really good because they're trying to set up a universe, the DC universe, and it's just the same way the Marvel universe set up Avengers with Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, and Thor. This movie fails at doing that. That's where this movie really fails because there's a lot of loopholes on this movie. But in the end of the day, Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice is awesome. I'd give this movie, I give it a 9 or 8 out of 10 because it could be Oscar Academy Award material if they just would have did. There's a lot of great, amazing visuals on this movie. Zack Snyder has been already criticized to be the next Michael Bay on this movie because you know what kind of directorial stuff that Michael Bay is known for doing. And on this movie, there's a lot of explosions. There's a lot of CGI all over the place. It's very dominant on this movie. There's a lot of buildings getting destroyed. There's a lot of uppercuts. There's a lot of, you get to see the awesome lasso from Wonder Woman. It looks like kind of like a shiny glow stick, but it's a lasso though. It looks, she kind of, and okay, final spoiler of this movie is we do see the death of Superman. Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman kind of band together to stop this unstoppable juggernaut. No pun intended. I don't mean that the other type of juggernaut, but I'm talking about because he's like a juggernaut. Doomsday means business. He's out to destroy humanity. And Superman grabs the kryptonite spear that Batman was going to use against him when he was going to kill him until, of course, Batman hears Superman say, I gotta save Martha. I gotta save Martha. You know, he's gotta save Martha. Martha can't, not Martha, his mom, but that's what stopped him from killing Superman. And that's what Superman uses to kill Doomsday. But Doomsday uses one of his bone-like spears or tritons on his arm or his fist to kill Superman, and we see the death of Superman in this movie. And at the end of the movie, we know that Superman's gonna come back. Because we all seen this. You don't have to sit down and watch this movie. Well, if you don't know the history of this movie, you're gonna think Superman's dead. Well, he's not dead. At the end, the coffin, Lois Lane kind of drops in a little bit ashes at the very end of the movie, and after that, the ashes start to kind of fizzle away little by little, kind of moving, and that's exactly what happens when Superman gets his powers in the first movie, in Man of Steel. And do I think the director, okay, let me tell you how this movie would have worked if they would have did it the right way. If Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman would have had some interaction together, they would have had a little bit more conversations together, they would have, there was a reason for them to get it on, really, because it's Lex Luthor who's the ringmaster of this fight for happening, as well as Doomsday. And if they would have focused a little bit more on Batman versus Superman, and maybe at the end, if they would have threw in the Flash, they would have threw in Cyborg, they would have threw in Aquaman at the very end of this movie, and they probably would have. Okay, I don't think it would have worked if they would have made Wonder Woman origin story because it's just way too much. And there's a 3-hour. This movie's actually cut down a little bit. It's about 2 hours and 33 minutes. And the actual movie is 3 hours. By the time it comes out on DVD, and I'm definitely going to buy it, we're going to get the uncut rated R version of Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. Woo! Can't wait. And as far as I'm concerned, like I said, that's the kind of reviews that this movie's been getting from the critics. It's been getting bombarded, and Ben Affleck is extremely sad. Seen the video already. He looks very disappointed. It looks like his eyes are gonna, get all sturdy eyes a little bit. But honestly, everybody did a great job with this movie. The only one that was kind of inconsistent was Lex Luthor as Jesse Eisenberg. He did his best. He's just basically Lex Luthor is he's just being Jesse Eisenberg. He's not being Lex Luthor. He's being Jesse Eisenberg. So that's basically what happens with that. And everybody else, Lois Lane, she's kind of not really in the backseat. Martha Kent is kind of a little bit, but they honestly, they make their presence felt in this movie. And I think they definitely had a place in this movie. And, of course, how can I forget, Lawrence Fishburne's on this movie. he's kind of like a little bit more like, I would say he was in the background. Holly Hunter does an amazing job as the senator on this movie. And Jeremy Irons as the butler, as Alfred, is awesome. I mean, this guy can act out any part he wants. He doesn't know how to make a bad part, and I think it really shows on this movie because Jeremy Irons as Alfred was awesome, and he does whatever he puts his mind to, whatever role he does, he nails it. And Ben Affleck, I give Ben Affleck, he made a believer out of me. I wasn't that skeptical about him. I kind of believed him a little bit. But then after watching this movie, you really see, yeah, Ben Affleck is definitely an amazing Batman. Might be one of the best we've ever had. And of course, Henry Cavill, lastly, he's kind of, he doesn't really get that much chance to shine with the material. I think it's just the writing also that really sucked on this movie a little bit. It kind of drags it down a little bit. Just like I said, there's so much going on. Okay, this is my introduction video to Film Review Network. And I will see you guys real soon. And please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and I will see you guys real soon with more videos.